Good evening, everyone. I'm Georgia Davis, and welcome to AZ Illustrated Nature. Tonight, we take you to the Patagonia Mountains in southeast Arizona, where controversial mining operations are being proposed. Learn about a local organization that is working to preserve and collect water in our region, and hear from a former University of Arizona professor who is an international best-selling author. His new book deals with the world's growing human population and its impact on the planet. But first, here's a look at today's top stories.
Homelessness is on the decline in Arizona, including Pima County. The Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development reports that the number of homeless people has dropped 22% in the state and nearly 40% in Pima County in the last 3 years. Arizona officials have been trying to house homeless veterans with a goal of getting all vets into housing by 2015. The state's successes in reducing homelessness are part of a national trend. The Tucson Unified School District will hold a public forum Tuesday on part of its plan to comply with a desegregation order. The plan focuses on 3 magnet schools, those with special themed programs or teaching methods designed to attract a diversity of students. District officials want to keep the programs at Carrillo and Davis Elementary Schools and Pueblo High School, while a federally appointed overseer wants the programs shut down at the schools, saying they won't lead to integration. TUSD Superintendent H.T. Sanchez says the community should have a say. Tuesday's forum will be at Tucson High Magnet School starting at 5:30 p.m. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
Mining has a long tradition in Arizona, and the industry continues to have an annual economic impact in our state that is estimated in the billions of dollars. But some new proposed mines are causing concern for many residents. They say our state needs to look at the long-term effects of these operations on water and other natural resources. Tonight, we visit the Patagonia Mountains southeast of Tucson, where we hear different viewpoints on this issue. Tony Paniagua and photojournalist Steve Riggs have the story.
The historic town of Patagonia and surrounding areas have been attracting visitors and settlers for centuries, from Native Americans and Spanish explorers to modern-day artists and retirees. The community is comprised of fewer than 1,000 full-time residents. They speak about the wide open spaces and peaceful environments, so some are concerned about proposed developments here. Mining interests are scoping out the area.
We're pretty much right in the middle of our mining claim right now. Where we're at is a weather station that gives you a good vantage point of everything around us. Just to the north of us is Red Mountain. On the other side of Red Mountain is the town of Patagonia, and then off in the far distance you can see the Santa Ritas. In fact, you can almost see the observatory off on the left, and of course just beyond that is the city of Tucson.
Greg Lucero is the Vice President for Sustainable Development for Wildcat Silver. It's part of a Canadian exploration company that may have struck gold in these hills. Millions of ounces of silver and other minerals such as manganese and zinc.
There is actually some amount of silver in there, and but a lot of manganese. There's been a rich history of silver mining in this area. We are hoping to continue and develop the silver mining in this area. With our preliminary economic analysis, we've got roughly about 330 million ounces of silver on our site. We feel confident that this silver zone extends out into the Forest Service, and we would like to explore it a little bit further. This was a hole that we drilled during our last drilling campaign. Where we're at is pretty much right in the middle of our patented mining claims, which encompasses about 154 acres. Beyond that, we've got roughly 7,000 acres of unpatented mining claims that are on the U.S. Forest Service.
If the ideas move forward as planned, Lucero says the operation could bring a vital economic boost to this region.
We're probably looking somewhere in the area 250, 300 jobs, and probably looking at an average salary somewhere about $70,000. So we would like to stay here and be a productive contributor to the region. Santa Cruz County ranks amongst the poorest of the poor in counties in Arizona.
But many of those neighbors and other opponents are skeptical about the promises and proposals.
Well, the jobs claim is an interesting one. I would like to see the studies that show that that many jobs are coming into this community just from that proposal. But I think what we need to keep in mind also is how many jobs are going to leave this area if these mines come in. Right now, Patagonia is becoming world-renowned for their pollinators, for their hummingbirds, for their butterflies. They have visitors from all over the world coming down here to bird, to hike, to camp. And so bringing jobs in doesn't happen in a vacuum. And the opportunity costs that are going to happen because of this mine are probably going to far exceed the kind of jobs that they're going to bring in.
And then we'll answer any questions.
In an informational meeting organized by the U.S. Forest Service, dozens of residents and other organizations turned out, including representatives from the Sky Island Alliance. The Sky Island Alliance is an organization that is working to protect our desert's higher elevation habitats, which are known as Sky Islands. Jenny Neely is the Conservation Policy Director and Legal Counsel for the group.
The Patagonia Mountains are an incredibly important sky island here in our region, and they are incredibly biodiverse. We have been recently out here to do some studies, as you know, on that biodiversity, and we have some pretty astonishing results coming back from that. We also know this area is a very important wildlife corridor, particularly for animals crossing up from Mexico into this northern part of their range. We have very few open wildlife corridors left along the border. This is a very critical one because this mountain range extends into Mexico, and it is part of the proposed critical habitat for the jaguar for that very reason.
The U.S. Forest Service says there are 4 mineral projects on the Coronado National Forest in the Patagonia area. They are CH, Hermosa from Wildcat Silver, Javelina, and Sunnyside.
No less than 4 mining proposals in this relatively small Sky Island mountain range. They're all going to be drawing from the same aquifer that the town draws on. They're going to be dumping mining waste onto that lands that are going to feed into that aquifer, that feed the community, that feed the mountain.
Mining flourished here in the 1800s and part of the 1900s, but its demise a few decades ago opened different financial opportunities, including arts-based businesses and ecotourism.
Oh, a gorgeous Harrisonia.
But despite the divergent opinions relating to the benefits or drawbacks about reviving the mining industry in these mountains, both camps can at least agree about one topic: water, and the need to study and understand its availability and dependability before mining can resume.
The water is a good question. First of all, we haven't come up with a mine plan yet, so right now it's, I guess, a good guess on everyone's part on what the water consumption requirements are going to be at this point. This drilling plan that we've gotten before the Forest Service is going to give us a good idea of what our water situation is like. We're going to get a good handle on the water quality and the water quantity in the region.
We're talking about millions and millions of gallons of water coming out of this aquifer, and to replenish that aquifer will take, hundreds, if not thousands of years, depending on how, far underground it is, and not really considering the needs of the wildlife, considering the needs of the mountain, considering the needs of the community. I think it's pretty bold. Things are changing so fast right now because of climate change and because of the drought, and everything is very uncertain. The patterns that we used to rely on, we can't rely on those anymore. So we're in a situation now where all bets are off in terms of the water supply and what's going to happen down here.
Still, Wildcat Silver is optimistic about its long-term plans, although there may be some bumps along the way.
The law is on our side. This is our property. We have the rights to the minerals under the federal land. The federal law actually promotes the development of mineral resources on public lands. We're not doing anything improper or illegal. We're just following through on the rights that we have, and mining is one of those things that is a necessity for modern life.
If the projects move forward, Patagonia will begin a new financial chapter in its rich culture and history, a chapter that some find exciting and enticing, but that others would prefer to avoid.
Many residents in arid regions of the world are taking more measures to protect or preserve one of the most important resources anywhere: clean, dependable water. Here in southern Arizona, many people are setting examples with their efforts, and they are sharing their findings with other organizations. For more on this topic, we are joined by Lisa Shipek, the Executive Director of Tucson-based Watershed Management Group. Also here is Tory Syracuse, the group's Associate Director. Thanks to both of you for coming in today. So first, tell me a little bit about what Watershed Management Group is.
Well, thanks for having us here, Georgia. Watershed Management Group is a nonprofit organization based in Tucson, and really our mission is to connect people with their local environment. And we do that through education, demonstration, and policy work.
Okay, so we'll get into some of the specific projects in just a moment, but I want to talk a little bit about let's talk about some of this legislation that just passed at the city level or county level?
At the city level, yeah. So we just recently worked for about a year with the mayor's office and the Tucson Department of Transportation to pass a Green Streets policy. And that policy will actually require that all new roadway development and redevelopment be designed to capture stormwater. And the reason that we care about that in this arid environment is that stormwater is a tremendous resource for growing trees and other vegetation that will increase our quality of life and shade our streets and provide habitat. And so rather than just letting that resource run down the street and not be used, we now have standards that say that roadways should be designed to capture that resource and to grow street trees and other native vegetation.
Right. Well, so let's talk about what this is in front of you, because this is very much part of that project.
Sure.
Right?
Yes. This is when we go through and retrofit neighborhood streets with what we call green infrastructure, stormwater harvesting. We put in earthen basins along the street, but we have to create a way for the water that's flowing down the street to get into those earthen basins. And so this is the inside of a curb core. So we cut a core through the concrete, or we can also do a cut, so that as the water flows down the street, instead of just flowing away, it flows into a basin where it supports native vegetation and trees and infiltrates down into the ground.
And so we're talking stormwater runoff. So we're talking about something that would normally just run off and then end up in one of our local rivers or I don't know.
Or a wash, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So because we have really changed our watershed, we've covered the urban environment with impervious surfaces like asphalt or our rooftops or concrete. That's actually generating more runoff than a natural system would. So we're capturing that runoff and infiltrating it close to where it falls and more closely imitating what a natural landscape would do.
Okay. Well, Lisa, let me come back to you. I want to talk a little bit about some of the community efforts here. So it's not you guys going in and doing this for the community, correct?
Right, so all our programs are based on the community interest. So whatever the community is interested in learning more about or implementing, we're there to help support that. One of our most popular programs is our co-op program, which we have here in Tucson and in Phoenix, and it's based on a barn raising model. And basically members come out and help each other implement these systems in their yards. And we provide the instructor to do that, but things like rainwater harvesting cisterns, gray water systems to water our landscapes, rain gardens, so just the earthen features to capture rainwater, and doing the gardens, the vegetable gardens, fruit trees, and native plants with all that.
So a lot of it is you're doing things, you're making changes, and then a lot of this is experimenting, right, and learning from what you're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. So we very much like to learn by doing and learn from, we bring our expertise, but we're always learning from our partners, the neighborhoods we work with, the schools, the individuals. And so it's kind of a give and take process where we're learning together.
All right, so one of those experiments I understand is here in the jar in
Yes.
front of you.
This is actually a really fun program we've been doing the last 2 years, a soil stewards program. And one aspect of that is we're actually learning how to conserve water and create compost through this innovative program of site-built compost toilets. So what we have here is a sample of finished humanure, probably something you've never seen before.
No.
But this comes from one of our pilot toilets. We have 20 in town, and what we're doing is diverting, instead of flushing our waste down the toilet, we are using this compost toilet, which turns it into compost that you can use in your yard, like for fruit trees. And these systems are being tested by the University of Arizona to make sure they're safe. And we also have a partnership with the state Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, who we are working with to get these systems permitted.
All right, interesting. 'Cause my first thought is, well, what about things like antibiotics, birth control pills? We hear about these things leaching into the water system.
Well, actually, these systems, natural systems, are incredible at breaking down things and processing things. And so that's why we're testing these with the UA, but we found that natural systems, whether it's a compost toilet system or the basins that are harvesting stormwater, there's all these microorganisms in there that are doing the work for us to break down harmful pollutants or chemicals that end up in there.
Right, interesting. So this is it's something in the works right now, but is the goal eventually to have these composting toilets all over the university?
Oh, well, we haven't talked about that, but that would be great. We do have these systems in residential properties. We have a few with partners, like actually our office has one of the permitted systems, and also the community food bank has one at one of their farms. But we would love for these to be available to everyone to be able to build. Absolutely.
Okay. So, well, I'm going to come back to you. So, you can talk to me a little bit more about some of the different community projects. We've talked about swales, we've talked about human composting, a little bit about rainwater harvesting, but what are some of these other things that people can do and learn from you all?
Well, we have a number of different demonstration sites around town, and we've actually implemented demonstration sites across the state of Arizona and in Nogales in Mexico. And those sites really, we try to demonstrate a really holistic approach to resource conservation. And so it's not just about capturing rainwater, that's just one piece of it. It's about really looking at the watershed, and that might be just your own home or your own site, and harvesting and capturing rainwater, but also enhancing soil through composting of food waste or human waste, and focusing on things like food production. So there's many different types of systems. We've really just scratched the surface in terms of what it's possible to do and what we're demonstrating across the community. I think Lisa mentioned the co-op system, or the co-op program, and reusing gray water is a really great place for people to start, in my opinion, and that's water from your washing machine or your shower or your bathroom sink, and just creating a system that puts that water out into the landscape after it's been used to grow things like fig trees or grapefruits. Right. And so it's really, there's a lot of immediate gratification in putting in a system like that, because suddenly you're reusing water that would just be going to the sewer.
Yeah. All right, well, unfortunately, we've got to end it there. Thank you both for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The biggest challenges still lie ahead in the deal to halt Iran's nuclear program.
15% of Americans now receive help in the form of food stamps, but additional money for the program is ending just as Thanksgiving approaches. We profile Colorado families trying to get by with less.
$20 is it's a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. It's a meal, it's milk, it's vegetables, it's meat, it's something, and it helps.
And with promises of Tunisia's revolution unfulfilled, pressure mounts to find a path forward to democracy in the birthplace of the Arab Spring. Those are just some of the stories we're covering on tonight's PBS NewsHour.
Millions of Americans have heard their health insurance will be canceled because of the Affordable Care Act. Some have decided that's not such a bad thing.
It was not a great policy. It didn't cover anything, which is essentially why we had a second plan for my wife, that we paid a little more for.
I'm David Green, finding a better health plan after losing a bad one on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Scientists say it took about 200,000 years for the human population to reach 1 billion people in 1850. But our planet now has several billion more people. And while populations are in decline in some Western countries, overall the world's population continues to increase dramatically, especially in certain regions or countries. This is putting a strain on many resources, including water, food, and arable land. Next, Tony Paniagua has an interview with a best-selling author who is out with his newest book. It's called Countdown, and it explores the growing population challenge.
Alan Weisman, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you. It's great to be in Tucson.
Yes, and we'll talk about your Tucson connection in a second, but let's begin with the idea for Countdown. It actually began when you wrote a very popular national bestseller, international bestseller called The World Without Us.
Yeah, The World Without Us is really a book that I wrote because I want a world with us. But in that book, I kind of theoretically wiped this out. I just imagined something that's not very plausible, but it was possible enough that it wasn't science fiction either. Imagine something happened, say AIDS went airborne instead of being passed by liquids, and we all got it. And suddenly nature was relieved of our daily pressures. What I showed was that in a very short time, surprisingly, nature would start dismantling our infrastructure, even our big cities, and nature could regroup, refill empty niches where we've extinguished species, and recover and be rather beautiful. And my hope was that readers would see that and say, wow, that would happen if we eased off. Is there some way that we can add ourselves back to that picture, but in sort of a harmonious relationship instead of the combative relationship that we are right now with our planet? So at the end of that book, though, as I was thinking about how could we do that, and I added an epilogue to talk about it, I ran right into a very disconcerting fact that every 4.5 days or so, we are adding 1 million more people to the planet, which did not seem like a sustainable figure. So I left that question hanging at the end of the book. Is there something that we could or should do about that? And surprisingly, everywhere I went, the book is out in 34 languages, and I spoke in many countries and all over the United States, and I expected much more resistance against that. Mostly people sensed, wow, this is a problem. So that ultimately led me to decide to research this thing. Population is such an emotional issue. And religion gets involved in economics. We got to grow the economy all the time. But still, on a planet that isn't growing, how can we keep growing? So as a journalist, I decided to try to, as objectively as possible, research this to see, can we know how many people fit on this planet? Can we know how much nature we need to preserve to ensure our own survival? Is there anything in the wide swath of cultures that we have in this planet that could accept, as we say in Ecclesiastes, refraining from embracing so much in times of need? I do have a chapter in China here, but their one-child policy, most people think is just abhorrent. Not many people want to do that, but it turns out that there's many other voluntary ways to do things. And then that last question, how could we prosper with an economy that's not continually growing?
So for Countdown, you traveled to 21 countries. Let's hear about some of the best case scenarios insofar as family planning and progress in that area, and some of the ones that are still facing serious challenges. Just one of each.
Sure. Well, one of the most surprising things to my American readers is that the United Nations credits Iran with having developed the best family planning program probably ever. After their revolution, Iraq invaded them, and they wanted every woman to get pregnant to build this 20 million man army to fight off the invaders. Well, 8 years later, they had so many people, they figured, how are we going to employ all these kids? And a country with a lot of underemployed young men is a destabilized place because they get angry and frustrated. Sort of like Pakistan today, where I also went. So Iran instituted a policy saying you can have as many children as you want, but there's nothing in the Quran that says you can't even have an operation if wisdom tells you that you've got as many children as you can comfortably care for. They made contraceptives free and available to everybody in the country, and the only thing that was compulsory was premarital classes, in which you just talk about marriage, what to expect, but among those things were, how much does it cost to raise and feed and clothe and educate a kid? And then this is the linchpin of it. They encourage women to stay in school because, as it turns out, everywhere I went, a woman who is in school tends to defer her childbearing until she's done with her studies. And then she's got something interesting, important, and very helpful to her family to do. But you can't do it when you got 7 kids hanging on you, so they tend to have just 2 children or fewer. And Iran achieved a replacement rate, that means 2 kids per 2 parents, a year faster than China's one-child policy. And it's all voluntary.
And what about countries that still don't have the message? Let's come up with that one example, a difficult situation.
Well, I went to a very sad place, Niger, in French West Africa in the Sahel. And it's one of the poorest countries on earth, and it has the highest reproduction rate because women are literally trying to keep having babies faster than babies are dying on them. And that's really a tragedy because, paradoxically, the more that survive, the more trouble they get into because food has to stretch farther, their water resources are running out with climate change these days, and village after village, I would go there and they would say, you should have been here 20 years ago. You could not have seen that house over there because there were so many trees, but we've cut them all down. And this is something that we don't want to repeat because these poor people don't stay in those poor countries. They migrate, and then they become everybody's problem.
So long term, are you optimistic? Are you hopeful for the planet?
I got into this book because I've written about renewable energy, but we need some technological leaps to be able to get completely off of carbon. But this is something we have the technology for already. And most people want to do it. I mean, most women in the world, if they have the opportunity to use contraception, they choose to use it. And it would be so cheap because the amount of money to provide contraception for everybody, about $8.5 billion per year, that's what we were spending per month in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, this is affordable. Also, as in Iran, the best contraception of all is educating females. So think of all the benefits to society. A lot of economists say, yeah, but we won't have as big a labor force and we'll have all these seniors to take care of. If we have a world full of educated people, that will help a great deal in supplying that labor pool.
All right, and I mentioned quickly about your connection to Tucson. You were back in the sunshine for a little bit. What was your role here at the university?
Well, I taught international journalism here at the university for several years, and I was also appointed by the Center for Latin American Studies. So I would take teams of students every year to a different Latin American country where something topical and pertinent was happening, and we would do a series. The Tucson papers, the Tucson Citizen, when it was printing, and the Arizona Daily Star ran the series that we did. And also the WIC newspapers ran one of our series as well.
All right, well, Alan Weisman, author of Countdown and also author of The World Without Us, thank you very much for joining us and good luck.
My pleasure, thank you.
You may email us with your comments or watch any segment again by logging on to our website at azpm.org. Join us tomorrow night for AZ Illustrated Science and again next Monday for AZ Illustrated Nature. You'll learn about finding new uses for historic buildings and why these measures are providing environmental benefits in the process. Also, what you can expect in the wild if you explore the Sonoran Desert in the month of December. I'm Georgia Davis. Have a great night.